Check, 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 1, 2. Checky, checky, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. Checking, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm actually, real quick, I'm going to just... I don't want to hear myself in the mains. Check, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Well, that's outrageous. Check, check, check. Yeah, they had vocals subwoofer. Don't know who did that on Sunday. But if the vocals sounded a little muddy, that would probably be why. All right. Hello, digital stream and room. Little sound workshop for us today. So we've already booted everything up, right? Just hitting the blue power button in the back turns everything on. Soundboard included. So I have this little cheat sheet on the left side of the soundboard. This is my go-to set of steps for if you're back here mixing. This is what I kind of train our guys to, and what I would encourage you guys to kind of start with as your go-to kind of running checklist. So before we get into that, remember, let's say we've got a full team on stage. They're making sound. That signal is going into the stage, right, through the floor pockets. That's going into the back room where it's hitting the rack and the interfaces. It's traveling via Ethernet cable that comes out actually in that corner under where Sam is sitting. Ethernet cable comes down and around underneath the cabinet, pops out here, and if you look on the back of the soundboard, I don't think you can see it, but you'll see one big, thick Ethernet cable that's labeled Digital Snake. So that's from the last video and talk that we had. If for some reason nothing is communicating, make sure that that hasn't been severed, unplugged, because that's how everything is communicating between the snake and the soundboard, right? Once you get in here, all right, so it probably will start on just this main menu. I don't know if you can kind of see that there in the recording, Sam. Yeah. So this is kind of like the default position. If you see these kind of control buttons, none of these are selected. The moment you hit one of them, it changes that main menu, right? Processing is where you handle individual control of every channel, all of the different things that you'd want to do that we're going to unpack here. Routing is where you actually can see where things are being sent, as far as how they distribute across speakers or in-ears. It's not actually controlling the signal, it's looking at where it's routed to. Meters, this is where you can kind of just check how much signal of something you get. You're really not going to use that much at all. Effects are where you can control the details of the vocal and reverb settings that we have. Scenes are where you can probably start, and really what this is these are memory saves that we have, right? So I have an AP/AV bass. That's the company that installed this. I just have never deleted the first save that they ever set up. Up-to-date HB is up-to-date home bass. That's a very default, very general save. There's a Hannah band save, there's a Kaleb band save, there's a Kaleb acoustic save, and there's an Angie youth team. The reason we only have the 6 scenes are because I updated some of the stuff recently, and so I deleted all the old ones that we aren't using anymore because they're out of date. This is all of the up-to-date stuff. We'll continue to make Angie band and other things like that as they come up. Yo.
If you select a scene,
yes.
Is it going to change all of this up here, all of the channel?
Because it's if the previous scene has different ones, yes, right? So right now,
playing different instruments.
right. So right now, if I go to up to date, right, and I hit go, yeah. And go. See, now my mic's even louder because we just recalled a new scene. Now this all has different labels. Hannah's guitar, Matt's vocals and guitar. It's based off of kind of the last thing. If I go back to Kaleb band, Now I'm back. Actually don't want that. I'm just going to mute this so that it's not bothering us right now. Let's make sure that I'm actually on in the stream too. Some of the recording got lost a second ago. It's because we were changing scenes. So just kind of keep that in mind. We still got audio over there, Sam? Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Change scenes. I noticed that all of the mutes were blinking.
Yeah, so we have a universal mute button, soft key 1, that will default mute everything outside of the pulpit.
So how do you get it to stop blinking?
That's off.
Okay.
Yep.
Soft one.
Yep, soft key 1 is that universal mute button. So, like, this will get a little bit loud here, but if I unmute everything, like, the scene is designed to default. If I turn it off, now everything's live. I'm just muting these right now so that we don't hear any of that extra sound stuff going on. Yeah, so soft key 1, let's say you're doing men's group. Nothing's coming out at all. That's a good thing to check. Oh, soft key 1 is pressed. That's the universal mute. Once again, it doesn't apply to the pulpit. The pulpit is not grouped into that universal mute button because normally, Pastor Mark, after worship, you come up and teach. We mute the whole band with soft key 1. Yep, exactly. Now, soft key 2, just so you know, underneath that, that's all the effects. Any vocal, reverb, any delay, any of that is under soft key 2. So, right, Angie goes into a prayer. I go into a prayer. We don't want to hear all of that reverb and delay. The guys know soft key 2 to mute it. The challenge is actually more so remembering to unmute it once you go back in because sometimes you don't notice we don't run super heavy effects, right? So sometimes we'll have effects for the first song and the entire rest of the set we don't have them because we'll forget to turn them back on. You notice a lot more on the stream, and it's normally our stream guys who will be like, where's the effects? You got to turn those on, you know. Setup, this is where it starts to get really into the detailed tech stuff, how you configure the mixer. Oh, yeah, easy day. Yeah, my bill's right in the way. Good call. The only thing you'd really use for a personal thing on this is if you tap on Surface, you can customize menus. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute, but we have different layers on this soundboard, and some of them are layers that you can personally customize to like a look or layout that you want. And that's where you would do that is under Setup. I will. I'll come back to it. Yeah, just hang tight for a second. Utility is nothing overly important. The only thing you would probably ever use under utility if you're needing to do a software update on the soundboard, which occasionally will happen, or if you're trying to record into a USB drive like we used to do for just the audio, that's where you would do that. And then I/O, this is patching, same thing. I would not recommend unless you really know what you're doing at a later stage to play with utility I/O or setup because there's just really not a whole lot there. If you were wanting to do an audio-only USB recording, setup.
No, utility. You said something right before the recording.
If you're doing a software update on the soundboard. Yes.
When that happens?
Yes, it will. So I'll send you guys a separate video that's made by Allen and Heath, but the short answer is you download new software off the computer onto a flash drive. You put the flash drive in, it'll let you update, and then it'll update the soundboard. It would be any one that you could find. We don't have a specific one. Oh, just right there. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, I'll send you guys a more elaborate tutorial on that. It's really not that hard, but it can mess stuff up if you don't know what you're doing, so keep that in mind. I think the whole time I've been here, I've had to update it one time, so it's not a super frequent occurrence, but it does happen. You'll normally know it needs an update if your iPads won't control it anymore, because the iPad app will update automatically, and then they're incompatible software, and that's where I say I think it's only happened one time the whole time I've been here. So, coolio. All right, that's kind of just the immediate menu and kind of opening stuff on the first buttons. Let's go ahead and hop into some of this here. So, the very first step for my bad. Yeah, there you go. Very first step for getting behind the soundboard, this is what I tell all of our sound guys to do, is to set the gains, all right? So think about your signal flow for a minute. If I'm singing on stage, my voice is going into a microphone, that microphone's going through that whole rigmarole, it's hitting the soundboard, it's getting processed, and it's getting sent to the speaker. There are two ways of controlling volume, all right? There's volume at the source, right? So we could control the volume right here at the microphone, right? No, so that's gain. Fader is where it comes out of the speaker, okay? So think about it this way, like, so that's, you're controlling it at the speaker level, not at the source, right? Think of gain. Gain is a bubble, right? Right now, this microphone has a bubble for what it hears. Gain boosts that at the source or shrinks it at the source, right? So when you hear feedback from a microphone, what's happening is the gain has been boosted to a point where the microphone is actually hearing itself. The output from the speaker is getting picked up by the microphone because the gain is so broad that you're creating this loop of the microphone hearing itself over and over again, and that's why you get this real high, shrill, kind of sound, right? Yep, so you reduce the bubble so that the microphone doesn't hear the speaker, and you're good. That's why anytime you have speakers behind a microphone, you're way more likely to get feedback than if the speakers are in front of the microphone because it's harder for them to hear themselves, right? Yep, exactly. So the first, go ahead. Yes. Yeah, so he's shouting so loud, so firm that even being behind the bubble on his mic was still hearing himself, right? And that's what was kind of causing some of that. There are a few different tricks to dealing with feedback that aren't always exclusively gain, but I would say 98% of the time, it's just because the gain, either the gain is too hot or the fader is too hot, either at the source or at the speaker. One of them is too loud, and it's making the two of them hear themselves, if that makes sense. I think it was just because he was so loud. And yes, like compared to Pastor Mark, numerically, Pastor Mark's gain on that mic is normally around 14, 15. For Ken Graves, we were at a gain of -2, just to put it in perspective, because of how much he's giving at the source, right? -2, yes. Yes, so I'm going to do that next. But before I do, so real quick. So everything up there has a input at the source, even if it's a digital instrument, right? So think about that. Drums, even though they're electronic drums, there's not actually something, coming in, so to speak, that's analog being processed. When you hit it, it has a gain, right? So we actually can use this microphone as the example. If you go right here, so I'm going to try not to get in your way, Sam, but I am going to come onto this side. If you zoom in real quick and try to make sure. So come over here, like by where my finger's at. So this channel right now is BVOX 1. That's the microphone that I'm using here. I've got it selected. You can tell because of the green light. And then what you're going to want to do is hit processing, right? Processing is the primary, yeah. So it's not, that's what I'm saying. Gain is still good, so it's getting signal, but at the speaker level, I've brought it to nothing, right? If you go to where the stream settings are, you'd see that fader's straight up so that it's still getting it to the stream. So right here under BVOX 1, you can see there's this little meter right here. It's a little green light. That's showing that you're getting signal on that channel, right? None of our other channels other than this one over here, the pulpit. The pulpit is such a sensitive ambient mic that it can actually even partially hear me all the way over here. It's part of why managing the pulpit's feedback is also so hard. It's because it's such a broad ambient dynamic mic that it hears so much. But so over here, if I hit select and then I am on the processing menu, you'll see in this like slightly highlighted green, the backup vocal channel is selected, right? Right now it's in kind of like a column type view where you can see multiple things at once. I'm going to tap on the top part of this column to bring me into. This is where you kind of see like the basic setup of the channel, all right? So the source that it's selected to be receiving in is the S-Link socket. That's the audio interface that's in the back. And it is set to S-Link socket 29. So if we think back to our, the first time we did this is we went through. If you went through all of the channels, right, there would be like mic 1, you'd go back on the rack, that's plugged into slot 1. Mic 2, slot 2. Just so you know, at this point, those are now all 1-to-1 to 1-to-1 ratios, every single one of them. You go through, you would see plugged into slot 29 on that is a cable coming directly from the wireless mic transmitter. So you could see, okay, slot 29 is this, S-Link socket, dial it in, go from there. That would apply to every, you actually should be able to look, like if I go to, channel 1 is S-Link socket 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the only reason this is like this is because this is actually a custom menu that I'm on. So let me real quick. I'm going to pop over. This is the standard menu. I'll show you how and why I wasn't on that a second ago. But if you look, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down, backup vocal 1 is actually all the way over here on the standard menu because this is slot 29. The layer I was on a minute ago is the custom layer where you can see it how you want it to be, not how it actually is, if that makes any sense there. Okay, cool. So over here, though, once again, I'm selected the channel. Now, that's the assignment over there, and that's where the source is coming from. Right here under the socket preamp, so this is where we control the gain. Now, the first thing over here is 48V. That's phantom power. We talked a little bit about that in the back. Certain channels on our interface have a red light on them because they're actually receiving power from the soundboard. There are only 3 channels on our stage that, 4 channels on our stage that really need that. The click and track channels, because the DI box that controls that iPad does not have power in and of itself, and it needs it, so we send 48 volts to that. The pulpit is a huge one. If you ever plug the pulpit into a different channel, you have to turn phantom power on, otherwise the mic will not work. You just hold down the 48V and it turns it on. If you give phantom power to a channel that doesn't need it, it doesn't really do anything unless you do it to a lot of them, and then you're sending so much power from the soundboard that it might start to have some issues. So generally speaking, keep them off because it's not necessary. Turn it on and off, right? A pad can be applied, let's say, so for Pastor Ken, right? He was speaking so loud, so prominent that we had to go literally into the negative gain to make it work. You can hold down a pad and that will actually reduce the signal automatically by, I think it's like negative 10 decibels. So if you throw on a pad, I think you're actually around negative 10, and then it'll let you control it from there. So if you have a really, really loud signal naturally, that might be something that you want to do. And then the last part, and this is what's actually most relevant, so you have this meter and you have this thing that says gain, right? So the meter, as you can see when I'm talking, right, the signal is matching like the cadence of my voice. That's because that's the signal that this microphone is getting from me. If I stop, and then if I come back, it's right there, right? Setting the gain for your channels is the first step whenever you're mixing, because you get it set at the source to where you're not peaking. Because if I talk really, really loud right now, if you listen back on the recording, it's going to be crackly, it's going to be red. And it has to be set high enough to where you're able to get it across all of your speakers, but low enough to where you're not peaking like that. The ideal range that you're shooting for, it depends on who you talk to. A lot of guys will tell you right at 0 consistently, right? So as I'm talking, like I'm a little bit above that. I'm probably a little bit louder than the average backup vocalist. I'm also resting it like right on my chin, whereas most of our backup vocalists talk here. So that gain setting is actually probably pretty good if I even hold it here, right? I'm hitting like pretty consistently right at 0, maybe a little bit if I get a little bit louder, right? So
This is why you would want every singer with a microphone to be up close.
ideally,
Ideally, then you can lower the gain.
yes,
To really prevent any feedback.
correct.
Versus if you're like out here, you're pushing the gain up.
Exactly. Up and up and up. You're expanding that bubble, and they're going to hear each other, right? Yes. 95% of the time, it's exactly what you want. Sometimes if you have a powerhouse vocal, you know, yeah, I won't say names, but sometimes a little more wiggle room can go a long way, because some of it too depends on the dynamic, right? Like we used to give James a hard time. James would sing so soft at the start of some songs, and then he's like belting. You're really trying to not do a gain adjustment in the middle of the song, all right? You want to exclusively be adjusting faders as you're mixing, right? And mixing is quite literally that. It's balancing faders. It's not doing this preliminary type stuff that you set right up front. Now, here's why gain matters so much, okay? I'll show you guys something. I could reduce the gain right now to 10, and because I'm such a loud speaker, I'm going to raise, check. I can raise this right up to 0, and guess what? You guys can hear me perfectly fine. I could sing just like this on a Sunday morning. The problem is if you go listen to this on our recording, Sam, look at the bars right there. We went from 3 to 4 to you're barely getting 1 from me, right? The live stream has virtually no audio, and even this recording, if you listen back, we just drastically brought down my volume because the source has so little input. We're pushing it as hard as we can in the speaker, right? Now, on the flip side, so I just brought this up. Now I'm at like 37. Before I was at about 27, right? And now you can hear me, but if you look at your recording there, right? I'm peaking in the red. And on top of that, I've got like very little wiggle room here on the fader, right? The room can be deceptive for how it really is if you're not using an objective metric, which is this, gain dial that lets you see where you're approximately consistently hitting. The thing with gain is it applies across the board. You don't get to do a separate gain for stream, a separate gain for in-ears, a separate gain for main speakers. You can do separate faders for all of those things, but gain is set at the source, right? There's only one microphone, there's only one source that you can set. So your gain needs to get set first before you do anything with faders.
What do you recommend? How loud should someone be talking to set the gain? Should they be belting it, singing it?
I would go with like normally what I'll do is, let me rewind. The scene has it already ballpark, right? You're in a general position there. You're not having to start from scratch on anything. Even if you were, I would look in proximity to maybe some of the other channels you have and kind of just see like what's a good ballpark starting place. I'd say for our microphones, 28 to 30 is a pretty fair place, right, to start. And then have them play a song. So don't just, because like that's the thing, right? We'll be like, all right, let's get some signal from the backup vocalists. A, B, C, D, E. Like they're barely singing, right? And then you get in, have it fall, right? Like going for it, right? So you want to set the gain in proximity to what it's really going to be like. So have them sing a song, right? And we kind of tell everybody like, on the team, don't ask until you've gotten through a song. Let the sound guys kind of get a base level through that first song, and then we can start like acknowledging like, hey, I can't really hear myself, right? Because
Can they turn up their gain on their iPad?
Nope.
Only control here.
Gain is only control. We have individual personalized faders that we can adjust to our in-ear, but exactly. So that's why right up front, gain has to get set. Because if not, we're all playing with faders. And if gain is set too low, I mean, it happens all the time on our team. Like, someone will put their I'd be curious actually if I looked like
Cranking up their-
right now, yeah. Hopefully none of these are because I already recalled a scene and I try to keep them all below 0. But even that, right? So like I'm on the backup vocals mix. Matt's mic is above 0, which is not where you normally want a fader to be if the gain is set correctly. And that's where I say there are variables, there is practice. You have to use your ears, not just the science every time. But generally speaking, if the gain is set, you shouldn't be exceeding 0 in your in-ear. And that's where if someone's having to yank it all the way above 0, I actually am nervous for them because it might happen in the middle of the set. The sound guy goes, oh, guess what? Gain's a little low on, let's say, Paula's mic, right? She just wasn't singing lead on that song. I didn't realize it. Crank, and dude, you're in the middle of a set list. You can't turn that off, right? You can blow somebody's eardrum. So set gains right up front, get that locked in, and then I've generally told our sound guys, even if it's, I mean, unless it's like a 1 or 2 dial adjustment, don't make any extreme gain changes because that applies across the board too, right? You're going to hit the whole band with a 10 plus gain on somebody's instrument or voice, and it's not pretty, right? So set the gains, lock them in. If it's a super mild adjustment because you happen to notice like, oh, the backup vocalist singing a little bit more down here, okay? But sometimes too that's intentional because while we do trust the sound guy, vocalists know, generally speaking, if they're hitting a really dominant harmony, right? I'm really leaning in, I'm really digging in, and the sound guy might be focused on a few different things. Especially on a Wednesday night, for example, I don't normally have 2 guys running sound. I don't have both a stream and a main. So sometimes I will tell the vocalist, like, hey, at the end of the song, we're dropping out. Like, that's a really dominant harmony. Just sing a little off mic so that the sound guy doesn't have to move the fader in 3 different places, right? So a little bit of teamwork goes a long way on that. So genuinely, first step, set gains across the board, right?
That's set through the stream. Everything's the same once you set the gain.
The faders will not, but gain is consistent across the board. You don't have to personalize that to each setting, right? So you would go, like I normally will go in sequence just like this. I'll start with the lead. I'll go, okay, cool. Kaleb's voice is hitting, right at 0. That's good. Guitar's good. Oh, that's a little soft. And that's another thing too is if you notice like, oh man, I'm having to crank the gain to like 55 on this guitar. I would say similar to like the vocal mics, a guitar is probably on average like 30 to 35, right? So like if you're pushing it to 50, 55, they probably have their volume on their guitar really low, and don't be afraid to ask. Like I do it all the time. Hey, Angie, I'm getting a little bit less volume from your guitar. Could you boost that up a little bit for me? Could you give me a little bit more to work with or that or
So what's in their guitar is actually adjusting their gain? Or
it's a whole nother layer of gain. Yes,
that's
exactly.
specific to different guitars.
Yep.
Oh,
And your piano might have that too. It's a whole thing. A pedal board can impact gain at the source. So that's where back to last week, think of the sequence, right? Go systematically. If you're strumming your guitar, okay, good. My volume's good. Let's go to the pedal board. Pedal board volume is good. That happens a lot with Barney. Barney will only push his foot pedal like 70% sometimes on accident. He'll be like, why am I so much softer? It's like, dude, you just cut your gain 25% because you didn't push that pedal all the way down, right? So don't be afraid to ask if something seems off because it probably is, right?
So you go to every single
Channel.
with the game.
Yep.
So start us.
So literally, like I'd be like,
Okay, so
if I'm up there
so
playing.
blank slate, restart.
So it starts though with the scene, right? So you are in a ballpark.
go to
Let's
it.
say we. Off key. Oh, well, let me bring me down a little bit. That buzz is probably the DI box on Hannah's guitar. Yeah. Yeah, so if I mute that, exactly. But yeah, so like right now, if I go to Kaleb, lead Vox, like Angie's playing, I would tap this up top. I'd relabel that Angie Vox. And then literally from there, I'm tapping on this, and I'm going to watch her on that bar. Make sure she's set, good to go. Angie and I are pretty similar in where our gains normally go. I like personally to give the stream and the in-ears as much to work with. So yeah, a little bit of yellow at like the loudest moments is okay.
How do you determine if she's on there right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to show you?
It would show me.
You would hit this?
No, so thank you for that. This knob right here, Sam, if you can see that in the recording, preamp, or look right underneath it, it actually says gain.
Oh, okay.
This is the only downside to this board. Allen and Heath prefers the term preamp, which is why it's so big. Most of the other things we use are gain. So either way, it's there, preamp, gain, it's the same thing. Yep, so twofold. You can either do it here, right? Or you can tap it. And this knob right here, this yellow one, is assignable. Whatever you tap on that turns yellow, it will adjust. So you can do gain there, or if you tap, like if I tap that and I play with that, it's going to adjust that, right? So either one of those knobs work. And then yes, so I'd go one by one. Number 2, yep, select, or if you click on that and you just go one by one, it'll keep the same menu pulled up, right?
Digitally, okay, go back.
Mm-hmm.
Go back.
Processing. Yep. Yep.
So you're saying if I go to select this channel,
Uh-huh.
can I do the gain here?
Yes.
Without going into the digital aspect?
You can, yes. And you can just watch it right there, right? So like, yep, so you can see. As long as you're on the selected channel, it will do it right there. You don't have to go all the way. Uh-huh. Yeah, you can keep it in the column view just like that. Mm-hmm. So I'll go one by one all the way through, make sure the gains are not anything crazy. Now I will say, these backup vocal mics, because they're handheld, a lot of times our backup vocalists, when they're not singing lead, will end up keeping them about here. And then when they go to sing lead, they come right square on it, right? That is the only time live that I sometimes will encourage maybe adjust the gain, because if you set it when it was down here, it might be a little much when they get up here. We talk with our backup vocalists about mic technique and things like that.
You're saying when you set the gain, they're normally holding here.
A lot of times, because normally this is just the sequence of our set, normally that first song is upbeat and vibing, and that's normally one of the worship leaders. Normally the backup vocalists end up singing like a second softer song or something along those lines. Or even just maybe even getting away from backup versus lead. Just the difference between having a mic stand that keeps it in a fixed position versus your hand. You know, we're moving around, that kind of stuff as a handheld mic. And so gain can change a little bit, but that's where I'd say like what I would actually do is at that point, set it higher and then just ride the fader, because I try to give our sound guys a little bit more to work with and a little bit less, so long as you're not getting feedback. The moment you start getting feedback, the first thing I say, reduce the gain, even just 2 to 3, and you might solve it. Mm-hmm.
Let's say the whole band is set.
Yes.
The gain is set.
Yes.
Okay, but Miss Paula was holding it down here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So third song in.
Yeah.
She goes to
Yeah.
go sing.
Yes.
You notice she's way high.
Yes.
So you said fader.
Yeah.
Be here.
I would start.
You would not go to select and then bring down her gain.
I would start with just the fader because it's quicker, right? Easier. But the thing is you're not gonna pulling that fader down isn't gonna adjust it for the band. And if that happened, if her
Wait, you're
gain
saying
got
the in-ears on the band? Okay.
So if her gain got set here and she comes, you'll probably see it visually on the team, like, oh my goodness.
Okay, so
And
how does
so
that
from there, like I might initially bring her down like that, and then I would tap in. Oh man, she's peaking red.
Can you go back in real time
Mhm.
and turn her down on the gain?
Oh yeah, just like this.
So tell me what you, because at the beginning you said not to do
I wouldn't turn it up
Up.
because that can
Well, so
break an eardrum.
Even
Yeah.
though you select, let's say I wanted
Right.
to turn you up on the game.
Yeah.
Can you select your specific channel
Mm-hmm.
and turn your gain up specifically?
Yes.
So then,
Every individual channel
Okay.
has its own gain. Yeah.
but if I go to your individual channel and I turn you up, it's not going to affect the overall. It's not going to go up everywhere. It's just on your channel only.
Just on his mic.
Gain will across all the speakers for whatever channel you've selected.
Will go up.
Yes. Like if you make an
I
adjustment.
understand.
Yeah.
So you're on the guitar.
Right.
And you're super low.
Yeah.
And I got the fader way up here.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, I got to pull the fader down and turn the
Gain up. Yes.
Okay, so if I do that.
Yes.
In a real-time song.
Cross the board.
I push select Kaleb's guitar. I find it.
Yes.
Kaleb's guitar. I go to turn this in. I mean, we're in
We're in worship. Yeah.
session. If I turn your guitar up.
Yes.
And I'm pulling the fader down.
Yes.
Okay.
Still going to hit everybody's ears
Everybody's
much
ears.
louder.
Okay.
Yes. So that's why it's the first step in rehearsal that you got to do. And I would say it is. And if you find yourself in that place where, like we've had it on a Wednesday night, sound guy walks in at 7, didn't realize gain was low. My encouragement is find a way to deal with it, man. We prioritize the room over we do the stream. We've never done this, but here is an option. This mic, you could talk to us as the team through this mic. So you could say, hey, between these songs, I really need to make a drastic change to the gain. So pause for a minute between songs, bring their fader down. Yeah, bring their fader down. Right. on your in-ear. Yeah, right. Turn to your Bibles, yeah. But this is where I say, like...
Because Kaleb has done that while we're in worship. He's had to talk to me about something.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm in... Seriously. I am like, who's that?
It's the voice of God. It's the voice of God.
He did that once. Thankfully, what the
Yeah.
Lord.
Here I am.
Was when I hadn't had my guitar plugged in.
Yes. She didn't have her guitar plugged in and started worship. So I came in the ear. I could tell because I was getting no signal. And I could see, it's not plugged in. So I said, Angie, your guitar is not plugged in. And I just saw her smile. And then in between songs, she plugged in.
Good. No, it wasn't in
let's
between
all bow
songs.
our
It
heads
was in
for
that
one
same
moment.
song.
Yeah.
Good thing I had a full band, so it was easy for me to
Yeah.
let them go, and I did.
Yeah.
But I was able to hear him because I didn't have my guitar.
Right.
I probably had it louder in my ear because it was plugged in and you were telling me something else.
Right.
All you got to do,
might have.
Angie, is just, you're feeling it like you just,
Uh-huh.
the Lord's here right now. Turn around.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, exactly. She's not lying. So that's that's the first step across the board, right? What's that? It can only be, you could put it in the mains, but it is only routed right now to in-ears. And I'll even show you. You can specify, you don't even have to talk to the whole team. You can talk to just one individual, right?
By selecting.
Yep, exactly. So I'll show you where to access that, but I did it to Gabriel one of the times he played because he was in the wrong key. And so here's, hey, Gabriel, you got to transpose up, buddy. Like that kind of thing. Right? So it is a handy tool. I don't recommend it a lot. Dude, there are churches that they call this the MD mic, music director, where the music director will call all the shots for the team from the booth. Hey, hit another chorus. Do your thing, Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, dude, I would mute that joker so fast. Dude, worship fails. You can see moments where the MD mic got left on and it was in the stream. It's hilarious, but I'm like, dude, we already deal enough with Lola for the tracks and the guides. So Michelle said that's how Fort Lauderdale was. She said we use a guide track, but the MD would tell us, all right, verse 1, chorus,
But the person,
build.
the music director, if you think about it, they have to be a musician,
Right. You would hope so.
because how does it know? And it has to know the song well enough to say, okay,
Yeah.
count.
Literally. Yes. Oh, that pause, refrain. Yeah. Pause, refrain. Just hold. Right. Hold.
Fog light.
Hold that C. One more measure. Build it. You know what? You're going to medley. Go into C of victory right now. It's going down. I'm serious. I'll show you a video later, dude. It's crazy. So that's the first step, right? Set gains across the board. It's the first thing. Dude, exactly. It's normally someone they trust to be your worship leader, but yeah.
Because it also has to be someone who's
Sick or something, like,
Yeah.
you can't.
You pull the in-ear out and you go for it. That's what I'd do. I'd mute him. So Shane will have a mic in the drum cage, and sometimes we'll call a cue, like yeah, exactly. So like there was one song we were doing where originally I was gonna take verse 2, and he's like, you know what? I think like having our female vocalist Gabby take that one. Have her sing, Gabby, you take verse 2 on the melody, right? And like, I mean, genuinely, given like cues like that, you learn to love it if it's a good MD. But yes, can also be prone to disaster.
Because when we've done it with Kimberly, like she doesn't do that.
Yeah.
They don't have Shane.
Right, in the drums, yeah.
In the middle, like during worship.
Yeah, in the middle of a song.
Back out.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's just crazy because it's me, bro. Yeah, no, I'm messing with you.
Well, and also the music director can also say, because in those
And
music
they were doing
videos,
chords too. 1, 5, 4.
yeah.
Like they were calling out the chords.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, chord 1, all right, 1 to 5, and then
Yeah.
after this tag, we're going to this. Oh, let him pray it out. Oh, he's doing this.
Yeah.
I'm dead
Yes.
serious. I'm right next to the guy, like trying to worship Jesus, and I'm
Dude.
but I keep getting like, oh, this is cool.
So Merritt Island, yeah. It's crazy. Merritt Island has this, but at the worship leader. So he has it's called a hot switch or something like that you hit that will mute him in the house, but let him speak in the ears of the team. So yeah, Pastor Malcolm comes up. Okay, guys, stay tuned. Pastor Malcolm says, can we do, Christ is enough? Sure. All right, everybody, go to your database on your iPad, pull up Christ is enough and B. Sweet, I got the track pulled up, good to go, hit play, and they'll go for it. And he'll do that and then unmute, Christ, my all in all. Yep, just like that, dude. It's a discreet way of being able to call those shots. So,
But if you think about it too, like the whole band needs to be prepared for things like that.
oh yeah, it's a culture. It's a culture you build.
The band that if you throw that at them, they're gonna be like, I didn't practice that song.
Yeah.
Like these are bands that have to be like
All over, bro. So that's the first step. You set gains. Ideally, too, here's what I'd say, too. Like, ideally, it happens Thursday night during practice. Because that's the other thing is Thursday, we can get used to it a certain way. I do. So that's exactly. Like, normally what I will do on Thursday night before we get started, I'll come here. I'll say, team, everybody do a quick play. I'll just make sure that, like, the gains are set. I also, okay, let me rewind, Sam. You asked this. You can do it from the iPad, but not in the in-ear app. You have to be on the full soundboard app. So all these iPads do have both apps, but we only let the team use the individual ones. I will sometimes, especially if I'm leading, pull up the whole soundboard app, and then I'll set them and then save it at the end of the night, right? Right. Everybody. Yep.
everybody has
Exactly.
access to that. That's dangerous.
It has happened where I've had someone on the Everybody app and they have caused, yes, it's been terrible. So keep that in mind. So you set all the gains. That's step one. Once you've gone through all your channels, you're good to go. Step 2 on our sheet is mix the drums, all right? I'll come over to this side so you can see. This actually is a little more convenient. Mix the drums, all right? Now, why do I say mix the drums, okay? Second, right? Naturally, you would probably think like, oh, I'm going to mix the lead, right? The lead is kind of what everybody's following. The problem with mixing the lead first, or really I would argue anything else first, is we have an electronic drum set, and you want, yeah, that's it right there. That's all the problem. It's just an electronic drum. No, I'm just kidding. If you set the lead to a place where you're like, oh, I think that sounds good, and then you try to raise the drums under that, you're probably going to be hearing rubbers and mesh. I like to set the drums first to where I don't hear any rubber, any mesh. Even if I'm gonna go lower than that, I bring it to that first so that that becomes a more objective starting place. What most other people will do is use a decibel meter, right? Because that's the thing, like depending upon your day, no people in the room, etc. Like you might sit here and like, especially in a practice where there's nobody in the room, you might raise your lead guitar, lead voice, you're like, this sounds great. Then you get 200 people in the room and it suddenly sounds exponentially softer, right? And now you're having to remix the whole board because you're starting biased, right? So for the drums, it's a little bit more objective, or if you were, Jake has actually been doing this. Jake's been using a decibel meter. He will clock the lead person or even the overall dynamic. Okay, you're batting 95 dB, and then when the full band comes in, you're right at 100, right? It just becomes a little bit more objective because we can go, oh yeah, like that sounds pretty good, and then the room changes the moment people get into it. So I'll mix the drums first. The hi-hat, I think, is the most prominent thing because it's such a thick rubber, and our guys, particularly Darren, just wailing on the hi-hat. So you got to bring the hi-hat up so that you're hearing the digital process sound, not the of the rubber, right? The snare is a softer mesh head. It's really easy to get the snare. The kick, the same thing. It's so full and so boomy. The toms are one that you've got to watch because you can hear those, like especially getting into it, you're hitting a fill. So I'll bring all those up, and I'll go through them, and I'll walk around the room, like especially if I'm just doing sound before I even dial everything else in. Just make sure, like, okay, I'm not hearing mesh head wherever I go because that drives me crazy. The gain is different for every channel. So if you look here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, technically 7 channels for the drums. Drums are broken down into kick, which look, 0 gain, right? That is a caveat of the digitally processed stuff. The gains don't have to be nearly as high as you would see with an analog ambient channel, right? So yeah, kick is 0, but then snare is 3, but then it's all good. But then toms are 8, but then the ride is all the way up to 13. The crashes are 8, and then the hi-hat is at 7. So it's kind of all over the place, with the ride being the one that requires the most gain to kind of get it where we want it. Even to that too. So other things that can impact your gain, sometimes your DI box. So if you think of like the routing on the stage, anytime there's a 1/4 inch that's converting to an XLR, there's probably a DI box there. DI boxes have a switch on them that can reduce the decibel, so it's just another thing in the sequence, right? Underneath it, yes. You got it. That's literally it. Yes. Which is why when we remove drums, it's such a pain in the neck because you got to trace one of those to the right channel and setup. Uh-huh. Yep.
Now the DI box, is it labeled there so it shows you which channel it's going to eventually go into?
So it's not, and it could be. That's what I say. Like we can come through with the things and do this to this to this. Right. The reason we haven't in the past is because we've been experimenting a little bit with the drums for how many channels we're going to do. That drum set you can put on just a left and right stereo output, We did that for a little while. You can go up to 10 outputs and literally like customize every single individual piece. We right now are on a 7-channel setup, right? So that's kick, snare. All of the toms are on one. So instead of 3 individual toms, which we did have at one point, the ride is on one. The crashes are technically on 2. Yeah, the crash cymbals. It's technically, the 2 are on 1 fader. It's a stereo fader for the 2 of them that works together. I'll kind of get to that in a second. And then the hi-hat, right? So basically think of it, each of the cymbals is on its own things with the crashes being tied together, and then kick, snare, and toms. The reason why we wouldn't just do the full 10, just so you know, we're literally maxing out channels up there, right? I couldn't, if I wanted to, have me, bass, track, click, and 10 drum channels. We max it out. This is actually with 7 like this and running click and track and all that over there, I'm at max. The only reason we were able to do even 8 on a previous one is, if you remember, Pastor Mark, I used to run my mic to the pulpit. We had that cable for a while going to the pulpit, trying to keep us from having tripping hazards as much as possible, right? So there are options if you had to, but ideally, we think this works. We've only been doing this for about a month now. So yeah, we can get some labels that can help with all that. So set the gains, mix the drums. Number 3 is I then mix the lead. So whoever the primary vocalist is, whoever the worship leader is, and their guitar, I mix that over the drums, right? That's like for that voice and that guitar, generally speaking, in the way that Pastor Mark especially likes a nice warm guitar in the mix. You bring it over the overall volume of the drums, which is often, I think, why it ends up feeling pretty loud, because the guys try to bring the drums to where you're not hearing any pads. I still would say on the front end, when there's nobody in the room, just expect it to be hot while you're originally setting the mix, because then you can bring it down at the master fader, as opposed to starting off your whole mix a little soft, right? So I'd mix the whole thing up and then bring the master down and use that as kind of your go-to, right? So mix lead over, and I have this little note on here. Understand that the lead is subject to rotate, right? So from a mixing standpoint, Hannah's singing the first song. I'm going to bring Hannah right up and over. She sounds great. She's singing Praise You Anywhere, whatever, right? But then, yes, second song, we come off announcements, Matt singing. Well, guess what? For Praise You Anywhere, I didn't want that harmony super prominent in the mix, so I brought LVOX 2 down. But now Matt's singing Redeemed on the second song. We got to bring that guy right back up. So whatever is holding that lead role, bring that over the top. It should be the most prominent thing in the mix.
You should do it both from in the sanctuary and also on the...
Yes, and that's why Sundays we have 2 guys. Both of them are monitoring, and that's the biggest thing that they gauge. Now, we do not do a Gaithers style duet type of mix, right? We're not putting in the work, I would even argue, to have 3 full, strong part harmony. And even then, in that, you still have the melody a little bit more prominent. I like our backup vocals to be pretty backup, right? 30, 40% of what, yeah. And then you bring them up as they get prominent, but generally speaking, I don't like there are some people that are like, man, I really can't hear the backup vocalist that well. And I'm like, is it you can't hear him at all? No, I hear him, and I hear a little bit of that subtle harmony. And it's, hey, if you listen to most of the modern Christian music, that's how that tends to sound. It's complementary. It's not harmonies that are parallel to the melody, right? So personally, I always say mix the backup vocals underneath. Yeah, well under. And then the last note here is mix everything else around, right? So electric guitars, keyboards, all of that is landscape. There is a personal preference element to this. Certain guys like the keyboard more up front. It's normally when Christian's playing. There are certain days where we like the electric. Some of it's the set, some of it's the feel. So there's not firm parameters on, oh man, piano's always going to be at -10 dB, and electric guitar is always going to be at, just below 0. You got to feel it out. You got to mix to taste. I generally will have our sound guys try to listen to the music that we're playing and tell them, like, that's your goal, right? So even if Christian is tearing it up, like, if the piano is not the most upfront thing in that recording, that's not where I want it, right? The only exception to that I do tell our guys, and this is where I say, like, this is a whole discussion in and of itself. Generally speaking, we do like a warmer, fuller guitar than you hear in most modern worship recordings, right? You go to Elevation, you're not going to hear any acoustic guitar unless it's like a dropped out chorus, right? Same with Hillsong, Bethel. Maverick City, you're going to hear a lot of keys, right? So some of it too is just taste to the style of the artist, but we generally, regardless of whatever song is being played, like that acoustic guitar a little bit more up front is how we tend to do things. So that's why lead is over, everything else is around. Okay, from there. So number 5 is check the alternative mixes, all right? So if you come over here to this side of the soundboard, we have you literally see this thing right here that says mix select, right? So right near LR, that stands for left, right. That's the main fader, but it is just the 2 left and right speakers over here, the 2 left and right speakers over here. It's not the center, okay? So like right now, check this out. Check, 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 1, 2, 3. I just boosted this microphone, but that's exclusively in the left and right. If I cut it, check, 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 1, 2, 3, check it out. I'm still pretty prevalent, right? Even though I just muted the master fader. I just brought it all the way down. Why is that? It's because this mic is routed to center, and this is the layers thing. I'm going to come back to this in just a minute, but if I go to a different layer, now I can cut center, and guess what? Now I'm gone, right? So that's another thing that our sound guys need to see. Vocal center right there. Yep. It literally does. Yeah. The 2 in the middle. Yep. 2 in the middle versus left and right. So you can check, check, check. See, now I'm back up in the left and right too. We're also like most directly in line with the center. So you got to keep that in mind. But the fader will adjust it in both of those places. Hence why if you bring the fader all the way down, now you got nothing. Yes. Yeah. I normally don't want people playing with center because all that is tapped into center is the vocals and the pulpit. Maybe a little bit, like I think there have been times where I've had the snare in there and maybe the primary acoustic guitar, but what I don't want is someone bringing down center and then we lose the pulpit, because the whole reason we have this type of setup is the center distribution is intentionally set up to have things in the center to draw your attention to there as you fill out the room, right? We could put everything in center, but it's going to get muddy because now you've got a whole lot across the board. Like think of this installed setup to be drawing your attention to the center. I would like to make it spiritual to the cross, right? It's kind of what everything is like trying to be drawn to focus-wise. So I don't put center there because I normally don't like guys adjusting it. I normally keep it in a place where it's inconspicuous, right? Exactly. And then if they need to adjust, so like drums, right? You can pull down center. You're not really going to lose a lot of drums because the drums aren't routed to center. You pull down left and right, you're going to dramatically reduce drums. But the vocals will still be present, right? So that's actually why I say that too. Like set the drums hot, and then if you need to pull down the master fader, you're going to bring down that drum a little bit, and you're still going to preserve the pulpit, the speaking, the primary singing, which is what we like to do, right? Check, so these mixes though, yeah. These mixes over here.
Shut everything off, and then what happens when everything gets boom?
Yeah. So these mixes over here, these are your in-ear monitors. So check this out. Right now, you're mixing the main left, right, center. But if you hit 1, this is Darren's in-ear. You mix these faders, that's what's on his iPad. If he's adjusting his iPad, you'll see these faders moving by themselves. Same thing. 2, now you're in the bass. 3, you're in the electric guitar or the cajon setup. 4 is the keys. 5 is the lead. 6 is the backup vocals. 7 is the stream. So if you are doing double duty, let's say on a Wednesday night, because I don't normally have 2 sound guys scheduled, you can look and go, oh man, Hannah's not singing lead anymore, so I'm going to bring her down in 7, and I'm going to push Paula, right? You don't have to run to the other room, but you should to kind of gauge it if you get a chance. But what's that?
You want to hear what it sounds like.
Ideally, yes. But that's what I'm saying. Like if it's a quick thing, or yeah, like hey, what happened to the pulpit? Why isn't it working? Check, right? Pulpit and pastor stay pretty consistently all the way up there, but it's something to look at. So 7 is stream, and then the 8 is the subwoofers, right? So you can see we have a little bit of the track in the subs, a little bit of the keys, a little bit of the piano. I normally put a little more bass than that in there, so that's bass. The kick, you don't want this check. Like you don't want this vocal in the sub, like that doesn't make any sense, right? Unless you're like beatboxing or something. Yeah. Yeah, the 2 big black speakers built into the stage right there, those are all low output. So think, right, bass, kick, a little bit of the low end of the track. The piano's hitting the left side. The toms, right? We got toms, and then the cajon's low end. It is, I mean, we got a lot of beef on those subs in this room. Look at how low everything is. The only things over here that go up.
So where's the kick? Is that the highest one?
Yeah, that's the kick right there, and then the bass, kick and bass. Those are probably the 2 biggest ones that you throw it into. The computer over here does have a lot in here, but I have the computer set in an interesting way where even at all the way up, it's not exceeding the master, like where I set the computer in the house, right? So yeah, like, let me go back. If I go back to the main left, right? So the computer's fader is here. On the sub, even at all the way up, the absolute maximum it's hitting is that. And the reason for that is that way it kind of tracks, right? If you're raising up the volume, it's not going to put it super loud in the sub. If they were completely separate, you might throw on a rap song and boom, it's bumping, right? And you didn't even mean to. Or a Brandon Lake song.
Whatever's coming out of this.
Exactly.
Music.
Exactly. Yeah. And then this last channel over here, just so you guys know, this is the distribution channel. This is for the speakers in the bookstore and the
Which one?
this far right pink one that says distribution. Yeah, foyer and the.
Or like, hey, it's too loud. Can you turn it down?
Select that.
No, you can just fader it from wherever it's at. It is muted right now, but yeah, that's what you would want to do there. So here, check. You can probably hear me in the hallway getting a little bit louder. Yeah, check, coming back down. Yeah, Angie, wherever you go, my voice follows. So check the alternative mixes, subs, and stream. The reason I have that in sequence is I want the sound guy in here communicating with the sound guy back there. So if he's set gains, he's mixed, things are feeling good, go back there and check, even if you're scheduled for in here with the stream guy, because the stream guy might say, dude, I have the backup vocals as loud as they'll go and I'm still getting nothing. And then maybe you come back in, oh, I can give a little bit more gain. You know, like it's just good to kind of keep the communication going between the two. Subs and stream in particular. Okay, EQ and compression. So if I go back to this column view, right, where it shows all of this, gain is the first step for mixing. Once you've set the gains, balanced the faders, then you can start to be a little bit more tasteful. This is where it gets pretty advanced. I don't have our typical sound guys like doing this on a regular basis. Normally they kind of just roll with what I've preset, but you can check it. Under this column is all of the other things you can do to a channel. So it actually follows over here. You have the preamp. This is a noise gate. I would recommend just not even playing with those. It's nothing important. Sometimes if you have a lot of buzz, basically what it does is it only lets sounds above a certain frequency come through, right? So you can set a gate at this decibel range, these things will come through. Some guys, so like if you have an electric guitar that's like buzzing constantly because the amp just naturally makes noise, you might put that on. But the problem is normally you can gate it too hard, and then if he's doing something subtle or quiet, it's not letting that through, and you might have an electric guitar player going to town. We don't have bad enough buzz on anything to where I really try to gate it, because then they'll raise, right? They'll be like, I can't hear myself, it's gated. Oh, and then they boost themselves and it's too much, right? I would say don't worry about gates. Under that is EQ. All right. EQ is the tone of every channel, right? So you're putting out sound. Sound has a frequency plane that you boost or diminish to make it sound better, right? Generally speaking, you always want to make cuts before you make boosts, okay? So if I'm a vocalist, before I just say, oh, it's a bright and happy vocal, so I'm going to boost the high end, I probably want to start by cutting out low end and see where it ends up, okay? So if you look at, here, let's look at the mic I'm playing with right now. Right now, this green is cutting all that frequency beforehand. There's really not a whole lot. I could keep going, check, 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 and hear how it even loses a little bit more meat when I boost that. That's a high-pass filter, is that green. But if I back it all the way off, now I'm way boomier, right? So find a sweet spot kind of with the cuts. Dono had a golden principle with EQ where he would say a vocal should be boom, sizzle, pop. Boom is you cut the low, sizzle is a dip at 500, pop is a bright high wherever that red bar is. You see that kind of live time frequency analysis, that's the RTA setting. That will show you where your frequencies are really cutting through. And if it's a frequency you like, you boost it. In this case, like that high end, we give it that little red bump. If it was a frequency we didn't like, say something back here, we would cut it, right? So there's a whole art to EQ. I would encourage maybe watch some video before you ever play with that. But just speaking, like vocals, even guitars to some extent, especially in a full band setting, piano, electric guitars, that's like higher, brighter stuff versus kick drums and bass, that's all low end. So like check this out in contrast to like the bass, right? Big boosted low, cut at 500, little tiny peaks to make a little bit more pop on some of the higher strings, but like this is 90% of where that frequency is gonna be. And everything ideally kind of fills in its space on the sonic plane. All of those are generally preset. I wouldn't really worry too much about them. But there are moments where, for example, Pastor Ken, like when we pulled up his thing, he had a really, really strong like RTA, the like yellow and red lines. He had a really strong red line coming up like right here. So James took the blue and cut like where that line was, and it did help bring back some of that like feedback. So you can, in EQ, even if you don't want to lower the gain, or you can't lower the gain, as in his case, it was already in the negatives, you can sometimes cut frequencies on the EQ plane to try to help with that. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, it's super cool. There were a lot of people, he complained about it in the message. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
He said it in the message, but I was listening. I'm like,
yeah.
I feel like it was crazy because I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, so it's just different things for different people. The next thing in here, so this is compression. Same thing. I would encourage, don't really mess with it until you know kind of like what you're doing. You can turn it on right here. You know it's on with the yellow line. Basically what this does is it scrunches your signal. Right? So we also did this for Pastor Ken, but we do it for a lot of stuff. If you have a vocalist who's really dynamic, right? Let's say James, when he was singing, James is singing Death is Arrested. This is like the fattest compressor I've ever thrown on somebody. He begins the song, alone in my sorrow and dead in my, he's in a low octave, he's soft. So I want to boost gain, I want to push the fader, I want to get as much volume as I can. But then yes, oh, we're free, free forever. He's going off, right? What you do is throw that compressor so that you can boost the fader and gain, but then when he starts sounding off, it naturally shrinks those peaks, okay? So it keeps your loud stuff from getting really, really loud, right? We use compressors on Matt. We use compressors on, I think even me has one. Yeah, so it's not as steep, but especially the louder and more dynamic. Hannah, I've used compressors on you, especially when you're singing harmony. If it's a really thick harmony so that you don't have to do as much of that pull in, pull out. I know you're going to sing loud when you're singing lead, and then I might increase a little compressor if I know you're singing harmony to kind of bring it back a little bit. All kinds of ways to control volume and stuff. Same thing. Generally speaking, those are preset. On a Sunday where you guys are getting thrown back here, I wouldn't throw on a compressor. But if you realize, like, man, I'm not getting like anything out of Paula's mic. Well, look, because if you've got a compressor like that on here, you see how much softer I just got, like by throwing that thick compressor on there. You might have it over compressed, or someone might have left it over compressed, and if you over compress, you're not going to get any real signal. So keep that in mind. That's step 6. Consider EQ and compression. Final step is the effects. All right. So if you come over here on the far right hand side of the board, I might be blocking something. Yeah. These are our effects mixes, if you think about it that way. So just like if I hit this, now I'm in Darren's in-ear setting. If I hit this, I'm looking at how much of effects 1 I'm giving to every single channel. Effects 1 for us is an instrument reverb. It's just a little bit of like that echoey kind of sound that goes on our instruments. So you go instrument by instrument, and you see which ones you want. So that's the type of effect it is like an instrument reverb. You would go through and like, okay, guitar, I'm gonna throw a little bit. You'll see like the biggest thing we have here is Matt's acoustic. He doesn't have a reverb pedal, so we put a little bit more of that there. So you'd go channel by channel and just see which ones, but notice like none of the vocals have this one because this is an instrument specific, like reverb sounds better for the instruments. Yep, you raise it up. No. So
you set it and you dial out of it.
Yep, it's good to go. Yep. Until you recall a different scene, right? So you save the effects with the scene, if that makes sense. Yeah. Just like you do the other faders and everything like that. So yeah, you come out of it, now it goes back to your mix in the main, left, right, leaves it right where you put it. Effects 2 is a shorter vocal reverb. That's what we primarily like our vocals, add a little bit of reverb ambience to them. Effects 3 is a longer one. If you're doing something a little more dramatic, we don't use that one as much. And the vocal 4 is delay. So think about it this way, like, you know how when you yell into a cave, there's like a tonal change that makes it sound kind of ambient, but then there's also like repeats, right? Those are 2 different things. Delay is the echo. Reverb is the like roomy kind of sound, right? So here, like I'll show you. This is a good way. If I go to effect 2, check, 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 check. No repeats, but you're hearing a lot more of that like decay, ka. But then if I raise, here, I'm going to bring this back down, and if I raise delay, check, 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 it's the actual repeats, right? So you blend the 2 together. Vocal reverbs are both 2 and 3. 2 is a shorter one, 3 is a longer one, and then the instruments are a reverb for 1, and we also will throw some delay on some of the instruments too. Now you can tap in the rate you want it to delay on soft key 7. So like we're singing, I don't know, Great Are You Lord, you give life, you are love. You bring light through. You tap it in. Now it's going to delay at that rate that I just tapped in. That ideally you would do that for like every single song. Normally our sound guys have a lot going on, so we just keep delay pretty subtle. You often can tell when someone's having a good time back there playing with effects because you'll hear me say, Lord, we just, you know, and I'll just keep going. So same thing. We don't. Effects 2. Yep, and it's all muted. We don't love a super wet effect set. You can separate effects between the live stream and the main. We run a lot more ambience on the stream than we do in the house. Part of that is because of how bouncy this room naturally is. There's already reverb just by being in the room. The other thing is our worship leaders don't normally like it. Angie and Hannah both complain anytime I over push the effects, because that also it is separate, but you do hear it in the ears. I love it. I love having a super wet reverb and delay ear. And sometimes if they're on one of my settings, it's like the first thing they ask is, it sounds like I'm in a tunnel. And I'm like, oh, I love it. It sounds so nice. But yeah, bring it down. So that's what I say. Some of that's personal preference. Exactly. There's a running joke in like mixing theory that like effects are like the caulking of the music industry. Like they make you what you're not. They fill in those. You can hit a longer vocal. It's good. You know, they fill in all the gaps. They make you sound more professional. Exactly, bro. I'm telling you. Okay, so that's kind of all the mixing steps. That's what I would encourage when you're running sound. Set the gains, set the drums, mix the lead over it, mix everything else under and around it. The processing menu, this is your best friend for like checking the gains and then balancing the faders. Most of the scenes, especially at this point, are up to date and the gains should be in the ballpark, right? So if you get back here and you just start balancing faders, you're probably okay, especially if it's like you found out at 6:45 you're running sound, the team's not up there, and you just got to be back here, right? But if you're at like a Thursday night practice, that's where I would encourage. Go piece by piece, check the gains. Even while you're live mixing, you can look at it. Just don't do anything super involved because otherwise we just keep it on always. You can slow it down. I normally keep it around there, but like the slower you go, the more prevalent it's going to be. So sometimes even just hitting it faster, you're going to notice it less because then those repeats are so fast and there's only 2 or 3 of them. So see, you basically got it like a permanent delay, So yeah. So we just leave it on. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't really hurt anything if you've got it at a reasonably fast rate, just like that. You asked about layers. Last thing I'll show you. So over here on the left. Yeah. I'm sorry. There's literally a label here that says layers.
Okay.
Layers are just the menus that you can see, all right? So layer A is normally where it will default to. This is the like naturally ordered sequence of the soundboard, right? 1 is 1, 2 is 2, 3 is 3, 4 is 4. All the way through to 32, right? Layer B is right where that leaves off with number 33, all the way up to 40, right? 38, 39, 40. 40 is where our interface maxes out in the back, right? So if you're
40 channel essentially.
right.
Okay.
Then it goes to the computer channel.
Yep.
ST2 is another computer channel if we wanted to use it. USB is if we were doing USB recording out. You don't need to worry about any of that. These red ones, I'm not even going to get into all of that right now. They're just like channel grouping faders. Nothing you need to worry about. Same thing, these are some effect faders. It's not stuff I would worry about, stuff that just kind of stays preset internal to the soundboard. That's a whole nother kind of lengthier conversation.
To like boost the pulpit, you go to
That's back at A, you find your thing.
pastor.
Yep.
So is there a difference between pastor and pulpit?
Yes, pastor's the headset, pulpit is the thing.
Okay.
And look, pastor's way over here because these are the wireless transmitters in the back, pulpit's over here. So here's what I'd say. This is why I never use layer A, okay? Even though it's the one-to-one-to-one, all the good stuff, I never use it. C, man, I forget about this. B and C are stuff that you don't really need to worry about. It's just internal stuff to the soundboard that you access once in a blue moon. It's not stuff I would worry about for you guys. D, E, and F are standard. E and F, especially right now, are just standard blank layers. D is the one I have set up custom to be, even though the numbers are out of sequence on this, it's the order I like to look at it in, right?
Where you have pulpit, pastor, computer, distro.
All this stuff in one, all the drums are in sequence together, keys, piano, bass, electric, all my lead over here, right? And it functions more like the stage boxes if you think about it, right? So like lead is good, Matt is good, backup vocals good, all of the secondary supportive stuff, and then the drums, right?
Okay.
So I always tell our sound guys just go to D, and that's where you can see it the way that you want to see it. And that's where if you go back to setup, this is how you customize the menu. This top layer, if you can see that, so this top layer keeps them in like the layer A chronological order 1 all the way through 40. Down here lets you customize it however you want, and you just do it by dragging, right? So I would go to the top and I would want to grab lead in my guitar. But then let's say we're doing a Wednesday night where I don't have half of this. So I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need... Maybe I've got one backup vocalist, but not two, right? And I'm going to reorder this by dragging this over here. And I've got keys, but I don't have piano, so I'm going to ditch those. Keys versus piano, those are different things because keys are the natural keyboard. Piano is when Andy's using a iPad. Or I'm sorry, it's the reverse of that. Piano is the natural one. Keys is when Andy's using an iPad to kind of control his sounds and stuff. There's a little bit more kind of in the weeds of all that.
His effects, though, you said he does on his iPad.
Normally,
there.
yep.
That doesn't come from this soundboard?
No.
Okay.
Now you can't, so the volume is processed there, but like if he's doing a swelly synth that's layered over his piano sound, that's all coming from his iPad. So you still control the overall volume.
Mute it with pressing set 2 and stuff like that?
Not his like synthy settings. That's all like volume, right?
Okay.
So if you didn't like what the piano was doing, you would hit keys, but it's like mute on the keys, right?
Okay.
But yeah, so you build out kind of that custom menu from there. I'm going to recall
Which one
this
controls
now.
Right. You would hit LR, and then this is the master meter.
Check.
And this is the individual output?
Yes.
Okay. And then gain is you would have to press select on the individual. And then
Yep.
turn that
Processing.
number, this number.
You got it.
Specifically.
Exactly. Once you tap into it. Yep. Uh-huh. That's good. What do you got?
What if the click is bleeding through? Don't have the problem.
Yes.
Good.
What's going on there? And
Mm-hmm.
how do we fix that?
Okay. At present, 97% of the time, you're hearing the click. It's the backup vocalist. When the gain is at, if it's over 28, which I'd say like 70% of the time sound guys running it because our backup vocalists sing like soft little birds, they boost the gain. You don't hear it when they're down here because the click is up here. But then the moment they dive in for the song, it's so close, the bubble's hearing it, and that's when you start.
It's with their headphones all the way inside their ears. It's not like it's hanging out.
Yes, but sometimes no. You still can hear it if the gain is hot enough, even with them in, but sometimes it is out. You gotta watch for it, and so like Paula most of the time does only do one in, she'll tuck the other one into her shirt. I would encourage, take the whole butt off. If you're only gonna use one, take the whole butt off. Matt, same thing. Matt only normally uses one, take the whole butt off.
He did on stage.
Yeah, so that there's no speaker, right? The other side of it, so sometimes I've also heard it, Rhett will use the muffs. If he takes one of those muffs off, or if he slides them to his shoulders, I mean, you literally got two speakers now that are playing it. So sometimes you gotta watch that.
Doesn't have a mic, though. Where would his mic?
It's just the speakers are loud enough. The headphones.
It'll
Like if
go,
I was to turn it on right now, like an iPad, and
it'll
like
go into
put one,
her mic.
yeah, because I'm able to just. That makes sense.
Yep. Or this has happened too. If Darren runs the click so loud, like crazy loud, like I would die if it was just how high he keeps the in-ear and how loud the click is. And if he pulls it out even for a second, you will hear it not only coming out of his speaker, but my mic will pick it up. I've seen it with backup vocalists. If they pull it out and they step back, sometimes the cajon mics on the floor can pick up a backup vocalist. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's all. Here's another one. Sometimes the pulpit gets left on. If you come up and do an announcement, Sam, the sound guy will sometimes forget to remute the pulpit. And same thing, even if you've got the gain low enough on the mic to where it's not hearing it, sometimes the pulpit can pick it up. So there's a lot of places. That's where I say, like anytime we hear it, it's like, okay, I will watch the signal and see where I'm seeing the cadence of the click, right? Exactly. And most of the time, it's this. Another thing that's helpful, so you can solo a track. What that means is you can put these headphones in, and if you hit this PAFL button, so like right now, if I plug these in, I could hear all the sound that the stage is making. But if I press PAFL, it's now highlighted gold. These headphones are only hearing what's coming through that channel. So I might throw the headphones in, hear the click coming from the stage, but be like, where is it? I can PAFL each channel until I find, oh yeah, it's the backup vocals mic that's hearing it, because when I isolate,
microphone
yep.
The backup vocalist.
And if you can hear it when you PAFL,
coming in,
it's
that's how you
it.
know.
Yep, exactly. The cajon is a nightmare because, so same thing, Isaiah will sometimes play one out. He has 3 microphones surrounding him, right? Like think about that. Between the kick, the low end, the high end of the cone, and the cymbal mic, he's got 3 mics in the same proximity that we have one, all of them with their own individual gains. Like there's no way his bubble isn't picking it up. So sometimes you just got to throw them in, you know, or remove the second bud, right? So that's a big thing. Recently, what I've just done is before like if I hear it's coming from the backup vocalist mic, I'll cut their gain until the band comes in. And I know that's not ideal. It kind of defies some of what I've just told you, but that's where I say like practice versus what's there. So, but I do it small, right? So let's say we've got a backup vocalist sitting 28, and I can hear the click. I'll drop to 25. Guess what? Click is gone. They start singing, I'll raise the fader, and then the band starts to come in. I mean, slowly and gradually, I'll bump it back up to 28. I'll pull that fader down. And once the band is in, you're not going to hear the click at all. So.
That's true. It's only in between songs.
Uh-huh.
You have the pad, you know, ambience
Yeah.
thing going.
Yeah.
That ambience and
Right.
Okay, I always thought that like because on Sunday I tried to back away from the mic when we started out songs 1, 2, because I thought, well, what if it's like really loud in my ears? I got both my in-ears in, but what if it's like a phone call where like if I was to put it to a mic, it could hear it, you know?
Right. Right.
So is that am I fine or should I back away from the mic when I have my in-ears on and it's starting at 1, 2, 3?
You can never go wrong by standing back, but generally speaking, yours shouldn't be loud enough for it to come through. I get so like we don't really have any songs like this, but like sometimes for there was a moment in the sky, whatever that song is. All Hail from Jesus. Sometimes I will start singing right as the click finishes. Like it'll be 1, 2, 3. There was a moment. Like I'll come in right at that start. So that's a situation where you can't There was, like, you're gonna be like weird about it, you know. So there's ideal situation, and then there's where it meets practice. So just try to keep those things in mind.
Wow, that's a lot of variables why that problem might.
It is. No, and for the longest time, guess what? It was none of those things.
Yeah,
It was
the main-
at Darren's console. The mic in was routed to a general ambience output that there's a little bit of ambience that drum set will put on every single channel. So talk about like the baffle, we'd hear click when you'd go to kick, snare, tom, we'd hear it all. And it's like, what on earth? Like, is there actually a microphone there? No, because the moment you could play the click out of the iPad, you're not hearing it, but it was through the console. So I just had to turn that setting off on the brain, completely remedied it. The drum brain. The drum console has its own thing. I know, dude. That's what you got to follow the route, and that's what we're saying. We see so many variables that things can come through. So, yep, that's probably enough for today. There'll be more questions, but that's probably enough to get you guys going.
Thank you, brother.
Faux show. I'll send you a recording. Yep, that's it.